manita wali. Inota tongu, wenchi di kubuni. Di kututa futuluma wufu di kenyose. Afaga bevai, mahiru, dogonu materu. Naba, 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 mahiru naba. Naba, 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 mahiru naba. Prophet neblaba la musa, moro dine big. Big dog on the truth teller. Naba, naba, mahiru naba. The prophet neblaba la musa, moro dine big. The chosen one, the Messiah. Naba, naba, mahiru naba. Otabla bana bilege naba. Isina basa ile muge naba. Mazi, otabla bana bilege naba. Isina basa ile muge naba. Dikizi yomte difeze. Dikizi yomte difeze. MEZNEBSATI no ifeze. MEZNEBSATI no ifeze. Anya kizi yomte nyamfeze. Dikizi yomte difeze. Anya dile maheru shinye feze. MEZNEBSATI no inala fotela. Inane bao. Tuvunu masero. Naba, 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 maheru naba. Naba, 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 maheru naba. Prophet neblaba la musa, moro dine big. Big dog on the truth teller. Naba, naba, maheru naba. The prophet neblaba la musa, moro dine big. The chosen one, the Messiah. Naba, naba, maheru naba. He is the chosen one and the Messiah. He's the light and the way. The wisdom of our days. The healer, the preacher, the truth teller. Bangati tokununge, listen up a second. Watch out before the chosen one, the Messiah. Naba, naba, maheru naba. Bangati tokununge, listen up a second. Watch out before Bangati tokununge, listen up a second. Watch out before
Sponsor a child from the Dogon villages today. They are the future healers, leaders and preservers of Kemetic traditions. Just like Prophet NABA, these children of the Earth Center and our network of healers are being educated in local schools in addition to their indigenous cultural practices and traditions. This comprehensive education both positions them to inherit the work of their forefathers and mothers and continues bridging the gap between traditional and modern societies. So go ahead, support, find out more about our campaigns and donate by going to www.theearthcenter.org. Thank you.
Life is a circle that goes round and round. Mine's not a circus, and I'm not your clown. Always with us now. It's always with me, y'all. God bless us all, each and every one of us. It's always with us now. So I pray. Life is a circle, goes round and round. Oh, mine's not a circus, I'm not your clown. Some people with us, some with their frown. Still I know my purpose is to share what we found. Some people insist to wear others down. All will bear witness unto who wears the crown. Good God, good God, is always with us now, always with I now. Would never let us down, never let I down. It's always with us now, it's always with I now. Would never let us down, never let I down. Oh, time has no master. We're all in suspense. Jah don't run no border, no wall nor no fence. So crime and disaster is all in pretense. Man too out of order, too much ill intent. Oh, when will the starters make way for the bench? And when will the martyrs get justice for their flesh? Good God, good God, it's always with us now, it's always with I now. It's always with me, y'all, it's always with I, y'all. Would never let me down, never let I down. It's always with us, y'all, always with I now.
Ujjayi, and welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. My name is Nahibsa Nesibik, alongside.
Ujjayi Kasati Hekama.
Welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. We're broadcasting on www.blessradio1. And as a tune, so that was a Damien Julia Gong Mali tune, Life is a Circle. And really, we come here and our life is a circle. It goes round and round and round, till we don't really have to come back here no more. Really, so that is the cycle that we have to go through. So we first want to kind of acknowledge the divine world for creating the existence so that we can exist in it. We also want to acknowledge the ancestors, those that are the intermediates, the ones that kind of take our wishes, they're the ones that kind of navigate us through our lives, basically, really, right, and push us back into shape, when we need to be pushed back into line. And also we want to acknowledge NABA Lemusamor and Denebig, a Dogon high priest from the Kemetic tradition, from the Ngoma tribe in Burkina Faso. And NABA was the one that actually sought permission from the kingship and from the elders, from the divinities, to bring to us here in the West this profound knowledge. He actually sacrificed himself really in the process to deliver to us really, so that we have the opportunity really to evolve ourselves. So we just want to acknowledge Master NABA, who established the Earth Center. His first kind of journey was to the Americas, where he first established the first schools there. That was the first schools in Chicago, and then he started another 2 schools, making it 3 there, and then he went back to the motherland, where he started another school there. And NABA IRITAH, after Master NABA transition, NABA IRITAH actually evolved the school, or grow the school to where it is now, where we have 5 or 6 schools in Americas, 1 school on the continent, 2 in Canada, and 2 here in the UK. And we're the London Temple, and our other school is in Coventry. So we want to read out some information there, just to give you, if you want to interact with us on the show tonight, the number for the studio number is 07944431366. So, as we go along, if there's anything that you would like to share, interject at any point, please feel free to do so on that number. Yes, just to give you a little bit about the school. At the moment, the school is called the Umtam School of Spirituality and Philosophy. And basically, there's 3 branches to the Earth Center there. We have like the Firefly edition, Firefly production, which disseminate like all the publications, the literature, all the books, magazines, CDs, the 77th Commandment, posters, all the things, and really all the publication, all the literature things that like the Firefly, in Firefly magazines there's articles there that's written by Master NABA himself and by initiates. We have the philosophy podium, which over the weeks we'll always more or less reading articles or chapters from the philosophy podium. It's a very powerful book that's written by the only Dogon high priest. Everything else more or less out there is written by someone else apart from a Dogon themselves. So this book really has a lot to offer. It is a very powerful book. It's well worth having. When you read it, when you read each chapters in there, it's like that book was written for a long time ago, but each one you read, it's like it's way in advance of itself. You know, you can see like the insight that Master NABA had, really, you know, to the knowledge that he actually brought us. It's like we're living out the book. Yeah, it's like a blueprint really, right, to what's to come, you know. And within the Umtam school, we have like we have the Medu language.
The 3 classes.
Yeah, 3 classes,
Yeah.
which is the
Yes, we have the 3 classes available, which is the Medu language, which is humanity's oldest language. And the Medu is a tiered language, and the language that you would be taught in initiation is the Medu Mayit, which is the everyday language. And you learn to read, write, and speak Medu. By doing so, it taps into regions of your brain that's been left dormant. It washes over your brain and actually elevates you, not just spiritually but intellectually. Then you have the Katibi class. The Katibi class is the class of spirituality, and you learn the meditative techniques of our ancestors. We learn the prayers, 75,000-year-old prayers. We learn about spiritual purification. We learn about the culture and the spirituality of our ancestors. And it's in this class as well that we would learn the Kemetic movements, which people will term as Kemetic yoga. Then we have the Sunt class. The Sunt class is the class of natural traditional healing, where we learn how to diagnose ailments in the body from a traditional perspective, traditional techniques. And you learn about some of the herbs that are used by the healers in order to bring about healing within the body. You also learn in this class the Umtam science, which is the oldest divination system, from which the things like tarot, astrology, other divination systems, which I can't even think of at the moment, but they've all come from the Umtam science, which is the earth energy reading. So those are the 3 classes that are offered in the Umtam school, and most of the temples across the organization have recently opened up their doors of initiation for people to come in and embark upon the journey. And I believe the doors are now closed until the next opening. So you can find us on social media. On Facebook, it's the Earth Centre UK, and the Earth Centre Coventry. On Instagram, it's the Earth Centre UK and Kebtah, that's Kebtah. So like us, follow us, and also we have the YouTube channel, the Earth Centre YouTube channel, and we don't have any events happening at the moment, but on that channel you'll find recordings of all of the lectures that's been happening over the years on various different topics that are studied and learned in initiation. So that's the YouTube channel, the Earth Center YouTube channel. In order, our website are www.theearthcenter.org, and for those in the UK, www.theearthcenteruk.com. On both of the websites, you'll find a shop to purchase the books, the posters, and DVDs, CDs, DVDs. To contact the Earth Center UK, by email, it's enquiries-uk@theearthcenter.org. The telephone number for the London school is 0208 558 3678, and the Coventry school
0247 6266 859. Alternatively, 07305995 and that's the Coventry school, and the address for that is 18 Biggin Crescent, CV3 1GS. So for anyone over the Midland side who is interested in going through initiation or wants to probably pop in at the temple and purchase any of these,
give them a call
and
make arrangements.
Make arrangements to kind of to see what they can do for you, basically. So that's the Earth Center, and also what the main website for the international.
I gave the website. It's at www.theearthcenter.org.
Yeah, so that's the international link up for wherever you are, really, right? You can kind of contact the Earth Center. Good. All right. We just want our topic tonight really is going to be on egoists and eros. Really, we see our ego and how egotistic some people can be in this world, individually and collective, really. We see how the modern society has, and they are still exploiting the traditional people, based off their egotistical behavior. They think that they are superior and more intelligent than us, and that they know best. But when we look at where they're taking us, we're on that verge really of destruction and self-destruction. And it's unethical really, as they act out their selfish interests really, at any means necessary. There's no regard or respect for life or anything around them really. It's about them fulfilling their selfish greed of what they want to acquire. And most times they justify it by saying that they're doing it in your own interests. And these are the people that's actually governing the world, really, right? And basically, as I say, taking it to that stage, right, where the likes where Master NABA saw that direction of where we're going. And we're speaking about ego, then Master NABA was a typical example of that really, where we have the 77th commandment which we abide by. They're principles where the tradition really, every child from their born, the tradition really, they have certain principles that their ancestors, they knew who was coming, so they would make preparation for that child really to fulfill its destiny. So these modern society, you know, they got this sense of pride, right, that fuels their ego, you know, them wanting to assert themselves, right, to be better than those that actually taught them the knowledge, you know, and it's that kind of, as I said, the program is about selfishness, really, or people's greed, because that's a part of this ego within in people trying to want to be what they're not. I mean, the Kemetic civilization, you know, that existed for thousands and thousands of years before these European ever came into the existence. And, you know, they had their traditions, you know, their culture, their spiritual base, which was about focusing on self. Because, as I said, you know, before a child comes or an ancestor come back, there is a destiny. And so we all come here to serve a destiny. And it is about that individual fulfilling their destiny. So, it is about self, but also about selflessness as well, you know. So in the tradition, everybody is taking responsibility to evolve. So when you come into the existence, mother has a responsibility, the father has a responsibility, and the child has a responsibility. And so that's how that community evolve. Everybody is playing their part really, right, to make it work. And so the logic to it is quite simple, really, that if everybody focus on themselves, and then each individual becomes a collective, or leads up to being the collective, where there's collective responsibility. And by that, they're able to create a viable community, right, which is self-governed, because, you know, everybody is taking that responsibility, you know, so it is about self, you know. We know that when we came into this existence, as I said before, we came to fulfill a destiny. Probably in the Western society, when a child is born, no one knows who's coming or what that child his purpose is. But in the tradition, usually they would do readings to know which ancestor is coming back. So that child or that ancestor will be coming with a destiny to fulfill. And that's what the parents are there to help to guide that child when it comes forth, right, to fulfill that destiny. You know, so the focus is always on self and improving oneself. And we were given what we would call like the perfect model by our ancestral godfather, Wusa. You know, he gave us like the 77 commandments, really, which is like the code of human behavior. And that actually give us the guidelines of how to live in harmony with each other, with nature, to ensure our continual existence, you know, of the planet and of our bloodline. Because on the 19th of Tahuti, when the gods, the divine, manifest themselves to us, our ancestors, we were asked what was our agenda. And because the human brain can't invent, we saw their world, so we wanted to be like them. So there's that ego for us really to want to, you know, emulate what we see, you know. And as I said, on the 9th of Tahuti, we were given that 77 commandment, and they are the guidelines, they are the principles really that we as initiates, try to abide by. As initiates, really, we are encouraged, really, right, to become egoists, really, to have emotional control, to be honest with ourselves and honest with others, to have like clarity of mind, to be clear about, what we're thinking and what we're going to be doing. Because we have to be mindful of our actions, because once you do something, you can't undo it. In the society that we're living in, we see where people do things and say sorry, and in the time of old, people used to pay for their sins. So the rich, according to their doctrine, really, right, would be, what's the word I would use? They would be exempt, really, like from their sins, really, so to speak. That would be rubbed out. But we know in the tradition, as they would say, that we can forgive, but the planet doesn't forgive, because we're going to be judged for our actions that we do. And so where that sense of forgiveness comes in, it makes humanity kind of say, fall into the abyss, because then people stop taking responsibility, really, right, for their actions and just do whatever they want to do, basically, because if you only live once, then it doesn't really matter what happens after. That's what's in their mind. So we strive to have that clarity and to maintain, a good strength of character, to be able to kind of say, to resist the onslaught of religions and their doctrines, really, and the political, social system that is there to control us. And it's doing it very, very, very well, really, because, we can see what they put in front of us. We follow like sheeps. Yeah. And so our aim, really, as initiates, really, right, is to basically understand the system or the world that we're living in, really, right. And as much as say we're in the world, we're not going to be a part of that world. I'm going to play you a little tune as an interval now, really, right, before we go a little bit further on in.
Can I just read a quote first?
Yes.
Before you do, from the Makaru?
Yeah.
Nebnabala Musa Mora Denibig. It's a well-known quote that all initiates in the Earth Center are very familiar with, and it's corruption always goes downhill. So as I say, it's a popular expression at the Earth Center, which acting on habits instead of thinking is seen as a downhill path because it's the easiest way to go. It's the path of least resistance. On the other hand, it's much more challenging to avoid emotional reactions, resist anger, and to think of a solution. So when one chooses the uphill path, it supports his or her rise to the level of a thinking person. So I repeat the quote again. Corruption always goes downhill.
And spirituality is a uphill struggle. And we all kind of say, as they say, the higher you climb is the what's it, the further the fall, isn't it? Or the harder the fall?
I suppose so.
Yeah, because in the blue, what we see, people are trying to kind of say to get higher and higher and higher and higher. But when you fall, it's a long way. It's a long way down. Or
the higher the monkey climbs, the more it's exposed.
Yeah, and those little phrases, they do have meaning to them, really. I'm gonna play this tune here, really.
Whoa! harder and harder, more and more each day, yeah. Still I am determined that I'm never gonna change my way. Thinking of love the way it should be. You gotta open your eyes and you will see. And love the way it should be. You gotta make up your mind and you'll advance humanity. Humanity, humanity, humanity. Oh, what happened to the love that they are all talking about? Is nothing but useless words coming from out of their mouths, talking about love the way it should be. We gotta open our eyes and we will see about love the way it should be. We gotta make up our minds and we'll advance humanity. Humanity, humanity, humanity. Whoa. To the love that they are all talking about. There's nothing but useless words that are coming from out of their mouth, talking about love the way it should be. Open our eyes and we will see about love the way it should be. We gotta make up our minds and we'll advance humanity. Humanity, humanity, whoa. Listen, people, listen, you got the notion. Listen what I'm saying to you. You got the notion. A little bit of justice and peace. You got the notion. We'll bring a little love for everyone. You got the notion. Said you got the notion. You got the notion. You got the notion. Oh, get in the motion. Get in the motion. You got the notion. You got the notion. You got the notion. You got the notion. Get in the motion. Get in the motion.
Welcome back. You want to do? We're just going to read. We're going to read.
I'm going to read a chapter from the Philosophy Podium, written by NABA Musa Moradenibig. This chapter is entitled Crime or Heroism? The Moses Story. If asked to guess the father of what we now call biological warfare, one could spend a long time searching one's memory for the names of modern scientists and still not find any. The reason is simple. The father of pollution and of the use of germs with the intention of destroying a whole population is, at the same time, the same person who played a big role in establishing this demonic system that is still eating at the world like a cancer. By recognizing as history only these last 2 millennium, this modern system has been able to polish its image. At the same time, it has presented as the father of the modern human, the prophet to whom God spoke directly, and the one who brought the 10 Commandments, Moses. Yes, Moses. Apparently, the God of Moses did not have any consideration for life. Or let's say the God of Moses had forgotten that blacks and all people of color were also people that they created. Moses explained how he and his clique made cities around the Nile uninhabitable by poisoning the river. He explained how he started epidemics by throwing bodies of people who had died of contagious diseases in the upstream of the Nile, so that the so-called Egyptians would die from the disease downstream. We are tempted to say that this happened long ago, but I'm suggesting to every individual who is interested in questions that affect the well-being of humanity to visit the region of the Nile to realize the seriousness of the situation. Now that Moses has become our father, the question that each human being is silently asking is whether killing one's neighbor is a sin or not. Kill one person and you are an assassin. Kill millions of people and you are a hero, some writers were saying. But this only complicates things for every being who is only looking for spiritual peace. Moses has left a very heavy heritage to his descendants, the heritage of preaching love while making wars of mass destruction. The conquistadors who came to evangelize in America around 1512 wrote that they saw the Maya practice human sacrifices. What they saw then explains why they killed them all. About 40 million people killed in less than 2 years. We say that we want to destroy the devil, and then we pour more human blood down to the devil himself. We become the devil that needs to be fought. The Nazis understood that all it takes is to tarnish the image of one population, and another population will find it right to exterminate the tarnished population. Like 2 millennia ago, when Moses and his clique said that blacks and their pharaohs were of the devil. Like 500 years ago, when Spanish conquistadors said that the Maya were worshippers of the devil. Like more recently, when Hitler also said that the Jews were the children of the devil, which for him too was enough reason to start the Jewish Holocaust and to continue the cycle even in the political domain. Communists are from the empire of the devil, and then people find themselves mortal enemies of neighbors who just a few days earlier had been their friends. This happened because politicians wanted to start a war. This is what is tormenting us, people of the world. Even those who have been presented to us as our worst enemies look like us, and they are born from fathers and mothers who love them. Even the selected shortened commandments of Moses forbid us to kill our neighbor. The end does not justify the means, and every life is sacred and deserves to be valued as a divine creation. This is the truth every individual understands almost instinctively. Maybe we should wake up to the sad reality that we are the only ones who still want to believe that this colonial system has a good intention towards humanity. We are born into a battlefield of ideologies, each wanting to prove to the other who is controlling the world. All these ideologies feed on our very own blood. This system does not guarantee any human values. This is why, while our churches are teaching us not to lie, kill, etc., they are also trying to recruit us as knights to go lying and killing in the name of the church. This is why in all governments, military budgets are the largest. This is why slavery and genocide practiced on people of color have not been perceived as crimes against humanity. Any individual who refuses integration into an army because he or she does not want to kill humans is designated a prisoner of conscience, in opposition to a prisoner of the state, and he and she is considered proof that the state did not succeed in hijacking his consciousness. This is considered a sign of weakness in the system. A strong state is a state that is able to mobilize all the people and send them to die without asking themselves any questions. We would like to call this patriotism, but that would be conceding that your life belongs to the country or to our leaders. We should learn to value and respect life as a divine creation. We should avoid substituting our imagination for the existential realities of this earth. Enslaved people throughout this world who remain victims of foreign nations are not different from us. There is nothing human in anybody who ignores the sacred aspect of life. The slave master himself is nothing but a victim of this system, who is too far lost in his vicious search for glory. The leaders of this system know that every individual would like to preserve the illusion of being special, so they capitalize on stimulating that tendency. And now anything becomes doable, with the goal of gaining the recognition of others on the grounds that we feel special. We are so focused on ways and means to appear special to others that we become less and less interested in whether we make any sense at all to ourselves and to our fellow humans. Personally, I would say that this world is controlled by people so small and whose ambitions are so dishonorable that they hide behind the human emotions they manipulate. They are not big enough to take responsibility for the monstrous system they have created. The value of moral qualities resides in the certainty that a lie will always end up becoming less convincing. The great Moses was nothing but a committer of genocide. Maybe God had ordered him to commit all these crimes, and there are till today individuals who commit crimes under cover of the excuse that God asked them to commit the crimes. We call these people mentally ill. They usually claim to hear voices and think they are from God. Human beings on this earth are still looking for paths that would lead them to reconciliation with God's. Along these paths, dogmatic politicians always lie waiting to try to distract us, corrupt us, and use us for their diabolical actions. It is up to us as individually to be honest and vigilant.
Oh, for that, yeah. And so we can see like how the religion really, up till today, really is actually used to enslave many of us really, and would still go out there and die under the banner of religion.
And justify murder and genocide.
And it's condoned. They go out there with a blessing, and when they do come back, they're classed as heroes.
And those who don't, as mentally ill and prisoners of conscience.
Yeah.
Consciousness, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was typical like when Muhammad Ali refused to go out there and fight or to kill someone that he did him nothing, basically. He was saying, why should he go and kill someone who hasn't done him anything? And you can see they stripped him of his title and everything, his status and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been the agenda wherever someone stands for truth. Because by definition, traditional egoist is someone really who basically they're following principles, guidelines really, that is going to take them towards their spiritual growth. It's about preparing yourself, being conscious and aware of yourself and your actions, taking responsibility for your actions, and having that selflessness really, right, to
know thyself.
to know yourself and to assist those really who needs help.
Yeah, but you have to first be able to know thyself and help thyself.
So this is where this ego is where society, modern society, being an ego is a form of selfishness. Really. It's about just you, the individual, because at the end of the day, we're all egoists, really, by definition, really. Wouldn't you say?
Whose definition are you referring to?
Both. We've all got the ego within us, really, right? That could be misguided, yeah. Whether we're gonna go by the ego is of what the system defines it as, or as a tradition, it's about your self evolvement, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that kind of it's which path do we choose, or which direction do we choose to take, really, you know, or aspects of it in our lives that we choose to kind of manifest, really. And we can see, like, you know, some people, they have big egos, really, right, and they lack patience and humility. You know, they're trying to probably run faster than, well, run before they can creep, basically. And it's that trying to impress people, to make a name for themselves. You know, with the system, basically, that's what it encourages you to do. Everybody wants to be impressionable to the next person. You know, I'm better than you, I know more than you. And so there's that lack of humility that even if someone don't know, you try to help them. You know, one day that person can turn around and help you. And we see that so often in society, that everybody is just going for themselves, and it's only when things fall apart with them they remember the people who probably was there in the first place, who gave them that head start in life, really, isn't it? You know, we could all identify with that, really. You know, that abandonment of what we might call friendship. By colonial definition of the word egoist, we can see where by the education of the schooling system there, where it starts off in the schools, colonial schools, is based off is everyone for themselves. Your condition, really, right, just to go forward. It's about you, no one else. So many people get left behind within the society that we go into. We see, because it all starts from somewhere, and we can see where the society, the schooling system, the educational system, they have control of our system. As I said, the brain doesn't invent, so it's what they get exposed to, really, right, that they know. And if society put those values that, you know, to be successful, you've got to have X, Y, or Z. Everything is like a materialistic kind of a thing, really, that we're striving for. Ironically, all those things that we kill each other for, none of that we can take with us, really, like when we come to the end of our journey. So we have to question then, really, what was all that for, and just to show you how misguided that we are. We see, like, from the school, we go into the workplace, and it's the same incentive in it. For you to be successful, it means that you trample on your fellow work colleague. You know, it's about like that crab in a barrel syndrome. Everybody wants to be on top. And so we go through our lives in the workplace, as I said, really, right, battling with each other, trying to achieve or what we think is achievement really, and we probably might call that success, you know. And it's all to do with selfishness really, right? And you know, how far that you can reach, you know, at the expense of others. um, you know, typically you see people working out there in the workplace really, right? And your probably employer can pay you a little bit more. um, they have what they call it the minimum living wage and the minimum working wage, and either of those is not enough to sustain you really, right, to pay for what you need to survive within the system that we're living in. Yet that's the guidelines that they put out there, that people should be paid accordingly. So they're creating all different kinds of destruction really, because if you're putting in the hours and you still can't sustain yourself, then that's going to lead you on to do other things really, to, you know, to try to get through the system to survive. And that's all, as I said, that's all at the expense of other people. In the initiatic schools, there is a code there really where we're supposed to go as fast as the slowest person, and within that system there, technically no one should be left behind, you know. It's, you know, at the end of the day, everybody has something to offer, even if they believe that they have nothing to put to the table. They have something to offer, and within the initiation we can see that, you know, that person, you know, even trace element is important, you know, out there. So, you know, like you write a sentence and you put a full stop at the end, yeah, that little dot still symbolize something really that is important to that sentence there really. And so in initiation, everybody has something to offer to the plate. So it's about, as they say, there's a proverb that if you wanna get somewhere fast, you go alone. But if you wanna get far, then you go as a group in unity. And so initiation is about everyone trying to make it to the end. Although we're all on our own individual, that egoist journey, but collectively still we're moving together, because we're not one person or one tree doesn't make a forest. So we need each other. You know, it's like the body. Each individual organ of the body plays own parts. It has its own intelligence, but collectively, together, that's what makes the body function, and that's how we are as human beings. That we're all on our individual journey, but the collective is for the preservation of humanity and for the planet. So we all have to take that responsibility. So this is what the tradition is about, taking that responsibility to kind of say, to evolve, to go forward. We see, like, say, many of the leaders of the world, you know, they're acting out of ego. In fact, yeah, predominantly when we look around in the world, the corruption is so strong, really, that everybody is, you know, they're out for power. That desire to control. We see that so-called 1%, this elite family, they would spend billions of pounds really in doing research on how to control people, you know, and it is about their own personal ego really. They're trying to be gods, that they have that ultimate power. you know, over everybody else, you know. We see like how neo-colonization still have African leaders, you know, on the continent. They kind of say betraying their people in the quest for their resources. You know, it's like they're controlling them. Basically, they're selling out their own people. They're selling out their birthright. They're selling out their land with all their resources to the oppressors. Yeah, and we see them dancing to the tune of the oppressors, really. And some of these leaders, they've got this. It's all about themselves. You know, they're not there for the people, which that's what they should be there for the people. You know, representing the people. They're the ones that's there, supposed to be negotiating on the behalf of the people. Instead, their own ego for themselves, for their families. You know, they basically sell their own people out. Taking billions of pounds out of the country, putting it in foreign banks, and you know, they're quite boastful about it. Some of their behaviours they've got their entourage of vehicles, really, right? You know, that they have, and their big mansions and that. And it's all about their own personal ego, themselves, them having power. And they will do it at any cost, really. You got anything that you would...
Well, we know it's not all of our African leaders, and the ones who do stand up against the system, the megalomaniacs, those are the ones that generally assassinated, dying by some mysterious sudden death or illness that no one knew about until the day they died. So, yeah, those that stand up to the system, as we know from Marcus, Malcolm, Martin, then they're taken out by the same system. And I'll add Magufuli to that as well.
Yeah. And many others like them, really.
Yeah, many others.
And so we see that, many wars, really, are waged really by the egos of these leaders, them, who want to proclaim themselves to be God. There's that ego. I don't know what it is really, but it's
mental illness.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's simple
there
as
is
that.
no other way that you can define it, really, is it?
Mental illness.
Yeah, because as I said, by definition of their own, what they define what ego is really, it is mental illness, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it just leads on, really, to say, we see, say, they would say, are heroes or something that you're born with, or to be a hero, is it something that you're born with, or is it something that you're taught? I think everybody's got heroism within them, really. It just depends what will bring out those qualities, or at that moment.
And what's the definition of a hero, then?
Well, somebody who's supposed to be courageous, who's supposed to risk their life, really, to save others. It's about preserving life, really, isn't it? Going out your way to that sense of selflessness, really, is a selfless act, really, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhat can be sacrificing your life for the benefit of your
of,
community, of
of
others.
others, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Master Naba is a hero.
Because I would conclude that because this is where we see like is he is a hero because he did sacrifice really for us, you
Yeah,
know.
and hero is not the ones dressed up in costumes that we see on the big screens either, and the ones who they portray in front of the masses, telling the masses, take this, take that, because I do. I'm not even gonna drop certain words tonight because I don't want to empower certain things, you know. But they've been dragging out all these so-called heroes in inverted commas, these TV personalities, these film, these what they call them, actors who have been acting in films as heroes, so to speak, and they bring them out in front of the public in front and say, look, I'm taking this thing, so you should too. You know, those are not the heroes. They are not heroes. There is a hero who died last week in London, actually. A 20-year-old Nigerian man, Follow Jimmy Olubumi Adiwale. He died after jumping into the River Thames to save a complete stranger who, unbeknown to him, she jumped in to kill herself, apparently. And he is definitely a definition of a hero, sacrificing his life to save the life of another without question.
Yeah, I mean, as you said before, they really we see how what they would class as heroes is, as they would say, heroes by their definition are trained. You know, you're not born with it. This is according to the Western kind of thinking. And so they create their own heroes in the armies where, you know, they go through their training, they train to kill, to suppress their feelings. They even give them drugs to sedate themselves, really, right? Because with all the training, they've still got a conscience that they have to still kind of to deal with. And by definition, a hero is someone who's supposed to be saving lives, and yet the heroes that they give us go out and do totally the opposite. They go out and kill and destroy and take away from people, and they are the heroes that they give us to kind of take to look up to. The heroes, when we look within the music industries, we see how powerful words are, the lyrics. It's ironic, really, right, that a child probably age of 2-3 year old probably can't spell their name, but they can listen to certain song music and they will remember it. That's the power in the music, in the words. And so they elevate so-called, you know, musicians, they're, you know, pop idols and things like that, that people look up to as heroes. That's what's given to us as our heroes, that we, as they would say, that we need. Why do we need heroes? Is that because what we're subjected to, we need something to look up to.
Disregarding the fact that we have our parents to look up to.
They are our
Who
first
are
heroes.
first heroes, yeah. Especially our mother, who sacrificed her life to bring forth life. Because as we know, there's many women who die mostly unnecessarily in childbirth, and my grandmother was one, died in childbirth. So yeah, those are the heroes.
But for
or,
those that live, really,
or
the mothers,
heroes.
yeah,
They're still heroes.
that commitment. No, I'm speaking about the commitment in terms of when a child come into the world, we would more want to identify with what society, because look how young, from a young age, that they put into nursery schools, and so they start admire or looking up to other people's values as opposed to parenting or
Yeah,
their
for
own
those
parents.
for those
And
mothers who are out there working and
Mm.
have to put their children through nursery, yes, that could be considered.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
but this is where the indoctrination and that away from himself. This is where that all starts from within that schooling system, you know, where those values, you grow into them and you accept them as being normal, but they're not, you know. You know, when we look back, we can go back, you know, as far as, like, say, the Greeks, when the Greeks, the invaders came in, you know, Alexander the Greek, you know, Constantine and all the Ptolemies, you know, Hitler's, Mussolini, all these different kind of, all those barbarians, basically. um, they're written in the history books, really, like, as heroes that people would look up to from the Western world, the European world, really. You know, they are what they put in front of us that we should admire, you know. You know, true heroes, really, or true egoists, you know, are freedom fighters, you know, people who are prepared to stand up, really, right, to give their lives, really, like, for the cause, for their people, for their children, to sacrifice, you know. It's all about sacrifice and selflessness, really, you know. That's what makes someone what we would define as a true hero. We've got, like, another chapter in the philosophy podium, again written by Master NABA, and you know, it covers basically all the things that I'm trying to explain, really, right, but he does it more beautiful than I can. I'm put it into words.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a very powerful chapter. This, my sister there is going to read out.
Okay, all right. Here goes. Civilizational conspiracies. Egoist, hero, and liberty. The idea that the pharaoh is a sacred personality who represents human, moral, and spiritual qualities may be difficult to understand. We have only to observe historical facts to see that a pharaoh is important enough for Judeo-Christian religions to make him the evil that forced the exodus from Egypt, or important enough to distort him into a representation of the oppression inflicted on the man who adores his God. This misrepresentation leaves out the procedure through which a pharaoh is elected to his throne. Since the millennium just before the Gregorian calendar, humanity saw the birth of small kingdoms which viewed the pharaoh's position as merely a socio-political post. Every single king in the territories now known as Europe and the Middle East thought that conquering pharaonic capitals like Uast, Thebes, Abu, Elephantine, and proclaiming themselves pharaohs would transform them into the world's most powerful rulers. However, they all eventually abandoned their desire to usurp the title and throne of Pharaoh, and not because they became wiser. When modern colonial history was what modern colonial history has suppressed is that each one of them died, sometimes just a few weeks after they proclaimed themselves pharaohs. The famous Alexander the Great died only 2 months after he declared himself the master of the land of the gods. Many Ptolemies succeeded each other in such a short period that no family member old enough to rule was left, and the rest had to flee the land of the gods. The Mongolian army, after conquering most of Europe, set out towards Kemet, but when they reached the doors of Itore, they were informed that their powerful king had just died. They returned home. Prior to modern society's emergence, the ancient system of human civilization was based on this one principle. If there is a reason for a human being to live in this world, into which he did not ask to be born, and which he can leave only through dying, then we must recognize and conclude that this world does not belong to us. From all the explanations we can formulate, only one remains standing. Our passage through this earth is a period of experience and a test. Discovering why the gods, or even the period of existence on earth, would test us will bring us to the goal ancestral human beings set for themselves. And that goal is to acquire divine qualities, to come as close to the gods as we can in order to experience the world of the gods. To attain this goal, we must improve our moral and spiritual qualities by following the 77 commandments. We must become pure in heart, pure in spirit, and pure in the body. We must separate ourselves from the animal within us. However, just one single passage, i.e. lifetime on earth, will not be long enough for that. The gods then gave us the capability to reincarnate. This is, in short, what all human beings in search of divine enlightenment know. They know that the quality of their souls would depend on their actions on earth, and not on their reasons for their actions. They also know that their chances for reincarnating as human beings will depend on the quality of the lives they have lived here and now. Every instant is a now, and every place is here. The human being who is not corrupted by the doctrines and religions of the modern colonial system has what we call forbidden territories, and those are behaviors or actions which under any circumstance are forbidden, and those are determined by moral and spiritual values. Such human beings would prefer to die rather than to commit these acts. They would also prefer being a victim instead of a criminal. The 77 commandments are sacred to them. Living out these principles transforms them into people who are no longer subject to the manipulations of social politics. At the emergence of the Greco-Roman political system, its kings quickly realized that the populations were given priority to the gods and to the fate of their souls after death, rather than to the magistrate or political leaders. The Greeks called these people egoists, meaning those who are more preoccupied by their survival after death than by their glory in the earthly empire which the Greco-Romans were attempted to create. The egoists were then persecuted and killed. They were hated. If they were that interested in their life after death, Killing them was doing them a favor. It meant sending them faster to the world they preferred. The opposite of the egoists were what the Greeks called the heroes. The heroes were the ones who sacrificed themselves for the society so as to realize the ambitions of the society's political leaders. Heroes will kill. They will steal. They will betray. They will dance. They will play comedians and entertain the public if that is what the public needs. The social politics will reward heroes with praise, momentums, mausoleums, and other rewards. It is important to see that the hero is a creation of a dualistic mentality, a mentality very cleverly designed by a political environment to lead individuals who see themselves as products of one group instead of as a product of the other. People who in one way or another turn their backs on evolution towards the world of the gods are by that gesture expressing the power of their political leaders. Spiritually, the social hero is nothing but a victim incapable of understanding the importance of the individual quality. It then becomes very clear for heroes to associate themselves with the qualities society allocates to them. By trailblazing a path for others to follow, each hero does great work for political leaders and becomes a model of sacrifice. Greco-Roman history is full of statues of people who acquired titles of gods simply because they knew how to fight, steal, betray others, and even eliminate entire kingdoms with their swords. This situation has allowed the redirection of humanity towards a dualistic march into the future. The individuals of today now link their progress to the external challenges they win, conquering lands, acquiring more gold, dominating other people, or simply accumulating more of whatever they identify as representing value. The process that led to the degeneration of the modern human being, reducing him into one who considers only what he can see or touch, was not been a simple process. The kingships which invaded the Nile Valley since 1500 BC found themselves having to face the reality that politics and brutality alone cannot pressure the conquered people into submission. After they understood that the pharaonic throne is not simply a political post, they finally understood that as long as a human being was obeying the original laws, the 77 commandments that led him towards the gods, it was practically impossible for politics to distract him. All of them talked about the supposed rigidity of spirituality, not because Kemetic spirituality did not produce solutions for the profound preoccupations of mankind, but because Kemetic spirituality would not allow politics to rule mankind. These invaders needed a real solution to this problem. So in the year 867 BCE, the Greeks announced the birth of a new god called Liber. Liber was defined as the god of human pleasures and social vices like drunkenness, homosexuality, sexual orgies, the breaking of all the rules that set a human being apart from other animals. Everything that had been considered a social vice and a spiritual abomination was now considered what the god Liber was offering. For them, the god Liber was coming to free us from the tyranny of God's, the 77 commandments. Greek philosophers presented as an injustice the fact that the pre-Liber human beings was not enjoying the pleasures of the flesh, like drunkenness in the extreme, without having to worry about what the gods thought. With the god Liber, even dishonesty and crime were now possible, because Liber would protect us from the other gods. The modern version of this Liber concept is the Christian teaching that Jesus died for our sins. The creation of the god Liber was, in its time, a social revolution. Liber liberated human beings from the 77 commandments and the doctrine through which one becomes the initiate or adept of Liber is called liberty. Even today, these languages in European territories in which Liber signifies love, sexuality, desire, pleasure, etc. The word Liber has become very popular nowadays. We use it to signify the absence of oppression or the ability to do whatever we want. We must agree that the introduction of Liber is a very ingenious coup against humanity. Every time we use the word liberty, it creates in us a sort of antipode, a place or an entity, a supposed antagonist whom we must fight. Through that fact, unknowingly, we have chosen values we must defend. But spirituality, we have rejected the gods and the principles that led us towards them. We have chosen bodily pleasures, drunkenness, and orgies. This is another reason why ignorance is what really destroys humanity.
Oh, and this is why education is so important, not just from the system that's controlling us, but traditional and, things that's been done, proven, and, it's given us good results, really, like of what things should be. You can see the struggles that they had as that they had to introduce this God Liber, really to take away from this egoist mentality that traditional people have, that focus on the afterlife. They saw, it's like, as I said, they were of this world but not of this world because of the corruption that's within this world. And so that's what's actually used against us, really, to keep us down. Those comforts, or what we deem as being comforts.
Well, and as we know, they reduced the 77 commandments to a fabrication of 10. And for those who don't know, you can purchase the full set of 77 commandments on the websites, the www.theearthcenter.org, www.theearthcenteruk.com, and center is spelled CENTER.
And them reducing the 77 to 10, their idea was what? To make it more easier for us to kind of to get through? Was that the idea behind it, you think? So them reducing the 77 commandment.
It's a matter of control, isn't it? and reduce us to lesser spiritual beings. The 77 allows us to raise our spiritual and moral qualities, and obviously those who didn't wish to strive for those qualities preferred to follow the god which they created, called Liber.
So it's not about, Liber introduced to us not taking responsibility for anything, just pleasures of life.
That's correct, yeah.
Which is destruction within, in the fullest, really.
And the 77 Commandments are actually called the Code of Human Behavior. And one of the most overused word as a parent to their child is to behave. If that child is misbehaving, you're going to tell that child to behave.
To behave, yeah.
You know, and by following the code of human behavior, as I said, it raises our spiritual and moral qualities and brings us closer to the divine.
And when it was given to us, the gods, they knew that for us to really to achieve that 77, they know that we really couldn't do it within the short lifespan that we have. And so being that egoist and focusing on self, knowing really right that you're just preparing yourself for your next coming,
reincarnation,
for your next reincarnation to come back again. And so, you know, that was a focus, really, that they had, you know. And so, in order to break that, as I said, to kill them, like, how could you kill someone who was already prepared for death? You're on a losing battle there, really, and that's what they came up against, you know. Literally, our people would line up, or they would have lined up, really, right, to embrace death, because they knew that they were living according to the code. So for them, death was welcome. You know, it's like you was helping them, really, right, to get to where they need to get to. But the oppressors didn't realize that. They thought, you know, they were, you know, on top. They got them under control. But they didn't realize, really, right, that these people were, you know, spiritual people. We're spiritual people living having a physical experience, you know.
And now people lining up for death, isn't it? We've seen people lining up for death now in 2021.
Well,
scientifical death.
Yeah, and it's crazy though, isn't it? And this
you
is
know,
where the
they're running from death by lining up
for death.
For death.
Yeah, but it come back to the heroes that they're actually using as well to encourage people to take these vaccines.
That's correct. This is what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
They have these so-called heroes there in many different guises, whether it's a politician or an actor or a musician. They're just using them to sell this
to sell death.
Yeah,
because there is an agenda, whether people want to accept
the
it
depopulation of the world.
Yeah. And it is about the egotistic behavior of these. We wouldn't say that they're leaders, but these people who think that they're leading.
The megalomaniacs.
To destroy, because ultimately what we have to understand, and this is going to go back to our creation story of Wusa and Set, that there are two forces out there really competing who wants to control this world. And as they say, one is probably more dynamic than the other, because one is prepared to do anything, whatever it takes, to win, you know, whereas the other is about preserving and respecting life
And having forbidden territories is things that you will not do.
Yeah. And, you know, that's what makes that uphill journey a struggle, as opposed to degeneration on the dirt.
Corruption goes downhill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that the things that are pleasurable to us, really, right, oftentimes are not good. You know, we like sugar, we like sweets, all these things that really we think that's giving us pleasure. That is our destruction. But we don't know it until we come closer, then we start calling out for God. That's probably times like that when people start to remember that there is a creator, because the system that they're looking up to is offering them nothing but pharmaceutical and
Yeah, but unfortunately they've also been sold a false god, so they can cry all they want.
But that's the illusion, though, isn't it? Because
right,
you have to give,
yeah.
you know, you have to give people something to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like we see in society where you have like areas that are so-called poverty areas, you know, and in those areas what you will see is probably a lot of churches,
pubs,
betting offices,
fast food shops.
you know, they have to give the people something to hold on to, otherwise there'd be anarchy. Yeah. But they dress this thing up so nice, you know, that you know it's like they give us the lottery, it could be you. And everybody is actually believing it could be them, you know. And in a lot of cases, really, right, they're probably kind of saving their £1 and £2, really, right, that probably do something more meaningful in their lives, as opposed to relying on hope, you know, which is what they give a lot of people out there, you know. So we see how they would see this, you know, they use what they use out there, really, right, their heroes and things, really, right, to control, you know. And the ironic thing is, really, like, say, for someone like we're, like, say, going through the initiation, and we can probably have certain information to share with people out there who are indoctrinated within the church and state system. The indoctrination is so strong that there's nothing that sometimes you can tell them, really, right, that will break them away from their belief in what the society and the system really has given them, really. We're going to play this tune. It's kind of which one should I?
I don't know.
This one?
Yes, I suppose so.
Feel the crying of the people, struggle every day. The young ones out there on the street, some already gone astray. All you seem to care about is the money that you take, and deceive the people with your tricks. Now look what you create, and now we all are paying for it because of your mistake. Don't care about the people. Oh no, no. Leaders of the world, start caring for the people. Oh no, yeah.
selector.
Oh, na 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 na. Oh, na 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 na. Hey. Can you feel the crying of the people struggle every day? The young ones out there on the street, some already gone astray. All you seem to care about is the money that you take and deceive the people with your tricks. Now look what you create, and now we all are paying for it because of your mistake. Leaders of the world, you don't care about the people. Oh no, no. Leaders of the world, start caring for the people. Oh no, yeah. I know that day's gonna come when things will go our way, and the ones those who create this mess, they're gonna have to pay. They're hurting and I know you know it. Stop playing the games you play. Yeah. Leaders of the world, you don't care about the people. Oh no, no. All you seem to care about is the money that you take and deceive the people with your tricks. Now look what you create, and now we all are paying for it because of your mistake. Leaders of the world, you don't care about the people. Oh no, no. Leaders of the world, start caring for the people. Oh no, yeah. I know that day's gonna come when things will go our way, and the ones those who create this mess, they're gonna have to pay. They're hurting and I know you know it. Stop playing the games you play. Leaders of the world, you don't care about the people. Oh no, no. Leaders of the world, you don't care about the people. Oh no, no. All you seem to care about is the money that you take and deceive the people with your tricks. Now look what you create, and now we all are paying for it because of your mistake. Leaders of the world, you don't care about the people. Oh no, no. Leaders of the world, start caring for the people. Oh no.
Ojai, welcome back. Yeah, we also want to make, because I want you to ask this question here, and it's a big question as to who really is your hero. You can answer that to yourself really, but just look at what society is put in front of you and see really who, think about it. Think about the heroes or what we present to our children, the programs that we allow them to watch, because they believe in those things. They're there, and that's what it's doing. A lot of these cartoons and things really that parents put in front of their children because they're busy cooking the dinner, so it's a distraction for that child to, there's so much subliminal messages and things within those cartoons that because their consciousness is not exposed to it, they don't see that, you know, where the damage is being done. So think about it really. Who is your hero and why? Why is that person or those people in your life that you deem them to be heroes to you? If they're not adding no real value to your life, then why would we or should we kind of look up to these people then really as our heroes? Because when we look at these people that we put as our heroes, not many of them are actually doing anything really right to help the people who are actually elevating them into those positions. They need you more than you need them, but they make the system be like you need them, like something for you to look up to hold on to. Yeah, just think about that one. We have to more focus like on our spirituality really, you know, and what do they really offer you, you know, in your life for your spiritual evolution, your spiritual growth. Yeah, that's before we just hold on to things really right that's not really have no value. Kasati's got something that she's written, you know, her own words, which I think I just read it and it you know, I think it's worth reading out really, just to, yeah, please do share with the listeners really out there really. And I almost forgot as well, you know, you performed an act of I can't even say the word heroism really, if I remember boldly. You could also share that act really, right? And as I said, the listeners probably can decide then really, right? Was it an act of heroism or was it an egotistical act to get recognition really? To get, or are you a attention seeker that you'd put your life in danger? So, yeah, you could then first read that out then and is give us...
You're not supposed to out people like that on air, man. Oh, Lord. No, I'm going to just say it simply and quickly. Nahibs is referring to a time when I was about 11 and I ran into a house that was on fire to save an elderly blind man who lived at the very top of a 3-story house. And so without thinking, without a thought other than he's blind, how is he going to get out? You know, so I remember I just dashed and run in there, my mother outside screaming after me. But by the grace of the ancestors, I was able to get him out and we both got out safely.
So really, it's again, I'm leaving it down to the listeners. Was that an act of heroism, or what society would then make a similar comparison by saying a fireman running into a building or going into a building to save a child or a person, and they would class them as being an hero? Now, for me personally, he's paid to do that job. He chose to do that job. So I don't really see the heroism in him going in there because that's what he's trained to do. Whereas what you did, you wasn't trained for those conditions. And without thinking, you can say it's a state of madness, but it was an act of selflessness, really, which is what we're saying. That's what actually being, you know.
Yeah, and I'm just going to end that to just send out all my thoughts and prayers to the family of the young man who died in London this week. 20-year-old hero who jumped in that dirty River Thames to save a stranger, and he ended up dying. And his name is Fulajimi Olubumi Adiwale. So may he rise in power. So should we end it there?
I thought he was going to read your...
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, this is something that I put up on Facebook regarding Makaru's quote, corruption always goes downhill. And it's, as the Earth Center says, it's an expression from the Earth Center, corruption always goes downhill. So acting on habits instead of thinking is seen as a downhill path because it's the easiest way to go. It's the path of least resistance. On the other hand, it's much more challenging to avoid emotional reactions, resist anger, and to think of a solution. When one chooses this uphill path, it supports his or her rise to the level of a thinking person. And that's from the Earth Center. So my narrative to that was, we certainly need to rise our thinking abilities, especially more so in these times that we find ourselves in. And I'm positively sure that there's a part of our brain, the frontal lobe, that was designed for us to think and analyze and work out actionable solutions to our challenges and problems that we face. If we willingly consume the mental, physical, spiritual, and moral foods from society, then we will become retarded in our natural abilities to think and analyze and problem solve. Scientists have worked out, geneticists have worked out, that their chromosomes precise enough to determine there are at least 22 specific chromosomes related to intelligence. So I was wondering, what tools have they devised to negatively target these specific genes? Because quite clearly something is wrong, because it's more and more evident that more people are not thinking, but simply and blindly following the narratives of a system that has always shown no care for the populace, for humanity. So hashtag critical thinking, hashtag 77 commandments, hashtag take back your power.
Wow. Yeah. And I just can't resist. I like this tune here. I'm just going to play this tune here.
Come along, yeah, and dig my song. Too much wagonist, too much antagonist. Wolves and leopards are trying to kill the sheep and the shepherd, yes. Wolves and leopards are trying to kill the sheep and the shepherd, yeah. Too much informers, too much steel bearers. Too much informers, too much steel bearers. Time to separate the sheep from the wolves. We're at the crossroads, and this is the time of decision. Too much informers, too much steel bearers. Too much informers, too much steel bearers, yeah. Whoa, yeah. Too much watch and peep. It's time the wolves them leave the sheep. Too much watch and peep. It's time the wolves them leave the sheep. Wolves and leopards are trying to kill the sheep and the shepherd. Wolves and leopards are trying to kill the sheep and the shepherd. Oh. but still they rise. Wolves and leopards are trying to kill the sheep and the shepherd. Wolves and leopards are trying to kill the sheep and the shepherd. Yeah. Too much watch and peep. It's time the wolves them leave the sheep. Too much watch and peep. It's time the wolves them leave the sheep. Lion. Too much.
Yeah, that was the one, Dennis Brown, the Wolf and Leopards, really. And yeah, many of us are going around like sheeps, being led. And we just want to say Duawo for Bless for giving us this platform, so that the Earth Center can express themselves, really, right, and put out the works of Master NABA, who dedicated his life, really, to humanity. And so we want to give thanks, really, for having this platform. We want to say thanks for all those who are listening. Next week's show will be Katasta and Jody will be your presenters there. And so we want to say Iriru to each and every one. And we want to give thanks to the ancestors, really, right, for giving us life to be here today, and for the divine for, you know, guiding us through our lives, really.
Yeah, so Iriru, Aptia Duawo, Neteril Duawo, Netedua.
And
This song goes in the memory of the beloved Prophet NABA Musa Big, the doggone praise, Mahir, the truth teller, Bisinabasa, which means I'll be appreciated after I'm gone. He's the man who overcome the devils with love. He's the man who speaks because he has something to say. The man of wisdom, the definition of humanity. Maheru, Maheru, Maheru. I'm from far away, I'm from far away, far away, from far away. West Africa, from far away. Prophet NABA, far away. Lamusa, far away. Big, far away. Prophet from far away. Prophet NABA, far away. From far away, from far away. Prophet from far away. He's the man of wisdom. He's the man who lives by faith, and not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lives by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock their treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity. He's the beginning and the end. He's the prophet NABA. Far away, I'm from far away, far away, from far away. West Africa, from far away. Prophet NABA, far away. Lamusa, far Allah saying, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophet while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We gotta fulfill the boy. Come to Maheru, come to Maheru, come to Maheru, come to Maheru, come to Maheru. You got your own told story. I'm from far away, I'm from far away.